Oh, hello. Welcome to another Today's Decay, celebrating births and beginnings of everything important since the dawn of time, June 6th edition. And today, in 1929, Unshenandalu premiered. Really a perfect film production, right? One part Louis Buñuel, a little bit of port, and one part Salvador Dali. Shake until chilled, and release into the world. And yeah, it's really something special. 1947 today, Robert Englund was born. Obviously, Freddy Krueger. Also, his Phantom of the Opera had a big effect on me many years ago. Haven't seen it in forever. I wonder if it still holds up. I don't know. Does it hold up as well or as comical as his role in the miniseries V? Good questions. I have questions. No answers. Yeah. Similarly, I sat in a darkened theater with Robert Englund once. Todd Robbins, not the famous pulp weird fiction writer from the teens and 20s, but rather the equally famous modern-day New York City-based magician, did a off-Broadway stage production of something he did called Play Dead, that I think was like produced by Penn and Teller or one of the two, and it was really good. And I saw it a bunch of times, and it was really like all the guts of a classic era spook show from the 20s through 50s or whatever, where like, you know, more magicians would tour the country and perform between monster movies and saw off girls' arms on stage and conjure ghosts on stage and like tell all sorts of ghost stories, and then like, you know, have those ghosts released into the crowd and run through the audience and over each other's heads and everything. And you know, it's really impressive and inspirational content. So I kept going back because everything he was doing was like, you know, $1 million production or some quantity of money that I can't count that high of. Anyway, it was really successful, or so I think, or at least gathered enough attention to be even more successful. And so somehow or another, Robert Englund was apparently like studying Todd Robbins' performance, because they were gonna like take it on tour through the country or wherever, with Robert Englund taking over the Todd Robbins role. And it never happened. But like, I kept looking over my shoulder, and like there was Robert Englund like a row or two behind me, breathing over my shoulder. I'll never forget that. Yeah, Freddy Krueger himself, just sitting off in the darkness. What else? Additional darkness. 1963 today, the film Nighttime premiered. That stars Dennis Hopper. Is Cameron Parsons in there somewhat? I feel like she might have a role, but I'm forgetting now. Either way, certainly directed by one Curtis Harrington, who was an early practitioner of the occult on the West Coast, in like the Jack Parsons, Kenneth Anger, Forrest J. Ackerman circles, like in the 40s and 50s. And the film Nighttide is really one of those like hypnotic nightmare type films, a la Carnival Souls. If you're a Carnival Souls fan, you may very well enjoy Nighttide. I was lucky enough to run into Curtis Harrington at a couple of Forrest J. Ackerman's birthday parties, which in hindsight, how surreal, I must say. We sat across from each other and had lunch several different times, and he told me all sorts of really great stories about filmmaking and weird fiction, and how Weird Tales was his Bible growing up. I'll never forget those words. I think it's really kind of stuck with me, and like I've taken it on as they like call to arms of like, yes, you are correct. And he made a whole, I mean, he was not exactly a genre filmmaker, but he kept revisiting The Strange and the Unusual, and very much based off of like the weird fiction that he read as a child growing up. Works a lot with Marjorie Cameron, the witch. A whole bunch of those short films are with her. Kenneth Anger, as well as, who else did he do? Queen of Blood. Who Slew Auntie Roo, I think, right? I think some episodes of Love Boat. And when I wound up meeting him many years ago at this point, he was way up there in age and was talking about how he was filming an anthology film as Edgar Allan Poe, hosting or narrating a series of Edgar Allan Poe stories, and like this is what was keeping him alive, was finishing this movie. And as we were sitting there having lunch, and like across the way, this is like a whole Forrest J. Ackerman birthday gig where like there's Ogre from Skinny Puppy and there's Booger from Revenge of the Nerds, not his real name, but whatever, you know what I mean, that guy. Ray Bradbury, you name it, like there's this, you know, all the cast of characters that populated the Forrest J. Ackerman Famous Monsters Filmland world. He like goes into like a convulsion, and like has to like, he's like there with his friend who has to like steady him, and I think they gave him some drugs or something, and he like kind of like composes himself again, and he's like, I am gonna finish this Edgar Allan Poe movie. This is what's keeping me alive. And man, this guy, a force of nature, right? I think so. And so Night Tide, watch the movie on the day it premiered in 1963. And in 1985 today, this is ridiculous, but the Cyndi Lauper Goonies Are Good Enough music video premiered. And I mean, I love it. This is like my entire childhood is encapsulated in this couple of minute music video. The Goonies captured my brain. Kids, friends, adventures, pirates, corpses, new wave, punk, you name it. I mean, like, what can go wrong? WWF wrestlers, of course, just because why not, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's perfect. So, June 6th could just be another day we sit around and exist. Or you could do all these things and embrace Cyndi Lauper. Not literally, but you know what I mean. The Goonies Are Good Enough. And the flip side to that 45, what a thrill. Oh, sure is. What a thrill indeed. Kind of like reminds me of her Blue Angel pre-solo album stuff. Also great things to experience. Don't just listen to the A-side, B-side, babies, all the way. Anyway, that's enough random babbling.